Heads up, it's the Roll Jays podcast, the voice of the Creighton basketball fan. With your hosts, Jimmy Allen, Alex Drake, and Casey Matthews. Join the crew and meet CU players, coaches, and a whole lot more. Now, the Roll Jays podcast. Here's Jimmy Allen.
Welcome into the Roll Jays podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. Jimmy Allen, Casey Matthew, Alex Drake, joined today by Ryan Kalkbrenner, former Creighton center. So it feels weird to say. Has it hit you yet that you're done with school?
I don't think so, not yet. But I'm not really looking forward to that sinking in. So I'm pushing it off.
When we talk about your career and wrapping it up, obviously there was a lot of discussions about championships in this season specifically. The goals come up a little bit short. What was the feeling like walking off the court for the last time? Obviously, we saw the great moment with you and Jackson McAndrew at the end of it. What was that feeling like when you were walking off the court in Lexington?
I went into the tournament knowing that, any game could be my last. So I think I probably braced myself for it more than I did in the past few years when I thought it might be my last tournament. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely felt more ready for that moment than I did the last few years, even though still sucks.
Sure.
Well, let's get into just overall stuff. Like, I think it's easy to just look at the stats, to look at, the wins and all those things are fantastic. But what I have said publicly and to you privately is I'm most impressed with is just the growth from when you got here to now. And it's pretty remarkable, not physically. I don't know how much more you could physically grow, but just, as a person, it's been really incredible to watch. And so I like to talk about Coach Mack a little bit. So can you just talk about that? You've kind of mentioned like he doesn't even really realize what he's meant to you personally, but maybe go back to where, like, help people understand, like the people that maybe didn't follow us as closely or you as closely then as they do now. Like, what were some of the things that you had to overcome over the course of your career to be able to do what you did?
Especially early on, I'd struggle a lot with the mental side of the game. Like when I'd make a mistake, I would take myself out of the game for the next 5 minutes or probably even longer than that, better than me. But Mac was really, really, really helpful with me in that area instead of just kind of giving up on me. Like I'd give up on myself sometimes. He really spent a lot of time with me to make sure I was talking to the right people, getting me in front of the right people to help me overcome those challenges. And, even beyond that, like when I got to Creighton as a freshman, I didn't talk ever, like on the court, off the court. And Mac made an environment for me where I could come out of my shell and, become the person I am today, which, I'm still not a social butterfly, but
appreciate you doing this podcast. Hey, was there a moment though, where there was that aha moment where it was like, okay, I can be comfortable doing this. My personality is changing here because of my stature with the team, things like that.
There was from like the getting over mistakes part.
Yeah.
There was the thing me and Casey did my sophomore year where every time I'd make a mistake, I just point to him, write it down when it was in the game. So I was like, my way of, instead of thinking about it in the game, I could write it down and then come back to it after the game if I was still worried about it. And that kind of trained me to just forget about it till after the game. And that was a huge turning point for me in that stuff.
Feel free for that to be the last time you credit him with anything.
Yeah. Well, there's no credit received there. I mean, it's a pen and paper. So, I didn't do any of the hard work. I mean, I think what I remember from that time is you were so hard on yourself, even when you were being successful. You would make a play, you'd score, but it was like it wasn't pretty enough or it wasn't clean enough.
Yeah.
And so you were still beating yourself up to where now I think you're at a point where you've realized, like, if you make a shot, it doesn't matter what it looked like or how it went in, you made the shot.
Scoreboard still says 2 points.
100%. And by for whatever reason, writing it down allowed you to say, okay, it's on paper, but it wasn't, because I think a lot of times people say, oh, don't worry about it, it's no big deal. That was the last thing you wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I think your shift was, okay, but I can worry about it later.
Yeah.
Because right now it's not going to help me.
Yeah.
And I think that's evident. I mean, this year wasn't your best year from the free throw line.
Yeah.
But
Rub
I
that
never
in.
saw you beat yourself up, in that moment, and you let it go. And I think that's growth. And I think it is Coach Mac helping you understand, like, you're contributing in so many different ways that if you were only going to focus on what you did wrong, you're hurting yourself, but you're hurting the team.
Yeah.
In the same way.
Can I ask, where does that internal pressure come from? Is there something like, have you just always been that way? Is that somebody in your past that was like, hey, we got to get this figured out? Like, where do you think that comes from for you?
I'm just a competitor, and I want to be as good as I can.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to suck. I want to be really, really good. So
that's
all it is.
That's the difference, though, right? I mean, it's just not being content with being good enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan, obviously, 5 years here, right? And accolades, lots of them. 4-time Defensive Player of the Year in the Big East. As you've had a little bit more time to reflect, and I know you went through some reflection last offseason and before the season even started, is there something that you look back on that either surprises you the most that you were able to accomplish, or something that you're most proud of? Like, I'm going to throw one out there that surprises me. I think it's unbelievable. Never fouled out.
Actually, that's one that doesn't surprise me more than other things, because in high school I had to learn not to foul because my coach would always take me out. So he's not afraid. Like, if I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, he's going to take me out of the game. So I learned real quick, don't foul out. But yeah, I don't know what really surprised me the most. Obviously, after my freshman year, I was looking at summer internships, and maybe just the fact in general that I became as good as I did. I wasn't really expecting that early on.
When we heard this team talk all year, whether it be you, Steven, Jemiah, Ty, Jackson, everybody talked about how close this group was this season. You've been, like Alex pointed out, you've been here for 5 years. There was a ton of teammates that you've had at the time, whether it be Christian Bishop in your freshman year, obviously Baylor and Trey last season. Why was this group the one that got talked about being so close? Because on its face, it would be weird for it to be with all the freshmen and transfer influence. Why was this group closer than all the rest?
I think that just – we ended the year having 12 people healthy. So, like, 1 through 12, everyone was bought into their role. And, like, not that in my other years people weren't bought into their role, but there's varying degrees of it. And, this year's team, like, everyone was 100% bought into where they were at. No one was mad about not playing. No one was mad they had to do scout team. No one was mad they weren't getting enough shots. Like, we all genuinely showed up and was like, okay, what can I do today to help us get better or help us win? So that was a really fun part of this team.
Yeah. When you look at your career and you look at the years that you were here, a lot has changed. There's been turnover from a staff perspective. There's been turnover, obviously, from a team perspective. You've been one of the foundations, really, of the program. What kind of role did you take on to really, like, I don't know if being a bridge is the right word, but when new guys would come in, obviously they know, like, our big man is Ryan Kalkbrenner. There's a little bit of pressure, I'm sure, to, like, live up to, but, like, how did you approach, like, welcoming people into the locker room?
I don't know. I think just above all else, I just wanted to make sure all the guys that came in could see our culture right away, and so they could buy into it. I don't think it's a hard culture to buy into. Obviously, I think you show up every day and have fun and work hard, and I think that's all you can ask for as an athlete at this level. So I think just doing that, showing the new guys our culture and helping them, transition into that if they came from a little bit of a different place. But I think just in general, me and all the other guys that come back year after year, like Sammy, they're just welcoming people. Like, we're not going to turn anyone away just because they're first year on the team or anything like that. We're just trying to help everyone move along.
Ryan, you brought up a big buzzword, and I think it's often overused in sports, but I feel like this program really embodies it. And we kind of went on a rant about this after the senior night game with family, but you brought up culture.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain definitively? I know it's hard, but can you explain definitively what the culture is at Creighton and how it's embodied? Because we hear culture thrown out a lot, and it is one of the hardest things in sports to truly define.
I I don't know exactly how to define it. I know one way that you can really know that you have good culture is when you look up and all of a sudden the year's over and it flew by.
Mm.
Because that means you were having fun with your team. You enjoyed your time with the team. Like, it can be a long season sometimes. Like preseason when you're not playing any games, middle of conference season, you lose 2 in a row, whatnot. It can get long. It can feel like the year lasted a long time. But I think everyone looked up after the Auburn game and was like, it's over already. So I don't know how to define it really, but I know when that happens, you definitely had a very positive culture for that year.
Do you think that was like that for most of your, like, could you say that about your career?
Yeah, I definitely say that about my career. I just think this year went by super fast.
Yeah.
I think I felt the same way too, just covering the team. Like for whatever reason, last year we were talking about it.
I didn't feel the dog days this year.
On senior night last year, we were talking about it. We're like, oh man, do we want to do this next year? Because I mean, we're there till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes with the post game show, and this year it was like, well, what are we doing next year? So I want to ask, Casey, you brought up his career as a whole, but I want to talk about the events that happened through your career. You show up, a pandemic breaks out. An entire season gets canceled at the
Are we blaming that on Ryan?
So what we're trying to say here is this is your fault.
Obviously.
But we talked to Marcus Zagorowski about this a couple weeks ago and got his thoughts on it too. But the transfer portal becomes a thing. NIL becomes a thing. Congratulations on that, by the way. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm sure you had the opportunity to leave several times, and I'm sure people probably come calling or gave you the idea or put that thought out there. Why did you choose to stay at Creighton all 5 years?
I just had it really good here. I mean, I know everyone on staff cared about me, loved me, and I loved my team and staff and the city and all that. And obviously, you could go get more money in the transfer portal, but
that doesn't always mean more happiness, right?
Yeah, money's not everything, and I've been fortunate enough here to where I've gotten plenty of money in NIL. I haven't walked away from a year, a season being like, man, I wish Creighton raised more money for me, anything like that. I'm like, I got more than I need. I'm really happy here. I know maybe you can go get more money somewhere else, but it's not important to me.
Yeah, and it's awesome to hear you talk like that, because I think it's a very mature perspective. Knowing your parents a little bit, haven't had the opportunity to meet your grandparents, I know that comes from them, and it's very obvious when you're around them that they're just, I don't know the expression, salt of the earth people. Like, they just good human beings. Can you talk about, since you went there, talk about that, like the way you were raised, and especially, I know you love to talk about your grandparents. So just the impact that they've had, and maybe when you look back at your career and all the success that you have, can you point to any lessons you learned from them growing up that you can attribute to where you're at right now?
Yeah, I just think, I don't know if there's anything specific, but obviously, just having a loving family and, not making things about, what you have or what
you don't have.
Yeah, what you don't have. Just it's about, having family and spending good quality time together. Not like, it's not always about what you're doing together. Like, my favorite times with my family growing up was just being together on Christmas at my grandma's house. I couldn't even remember half the presents I got. I just remember the time I was spending at grandma's house. And so, yeah, that's definitely big for me. And then obviously, now we're talking about why I stayed at Creighton. It was the people I had around me and the time I had. So that was huge for me.
We're catching up with Ryan Kalkbrenner here on the Bluejays podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. I want to do word association. I'm going to give you a couple names, and I want you to give me the first couple of descriptions or thoughts that come to mind.
Don't do this with me, Jimmy.
Greg McDermott.
Oh, I don't know, like a second father. I'd say that.
Stephen Ashworth.
I don't know how to say this in one word.
You can get a couple. We'll allow it.
Like a guy who's like one step ahead of me in terms of like where he's at in life. So I look up to him and kind of how he's living his life as a husband and a father, because he's been a step ahead of me in that way.
Jalen Courtney Williams.
Oh, man. I don't got enough words to say about him. That man's been incredible in my life. I look up to him all the time.
Casey Matthews. You could say ice cream. It's fine.
Ice cream, and also I'm where I'm at mentally because of this guy.
Rachel Kalkbrenner.
Loving my life.
All right, we'll end it there.
Ryan, I asked this to a couple of guys recently, but for you, as you look over your career, again, a lot has happened, but what lasting impact do you hope that you left on the fans, but specifically all the young fans that were wearing your jersey? Like when they think back about your career, what do you want the lasting impression to be for them?
Oh, I don't know. From fan perspective, I just hope that they think I did things the right way and, represented the school and team in a good way. Obviously, when athletes come to college, you're going to have all sorts of differing success at college level, but everyone has the ability to represent the school and team in the right way. So I just hope they remember that.
We'll give you a second to think about it. Give us just a couple like funny things, and that maybe all of our fans watch games, right? They probably watch hopefully the Roll Jays podcast.
Subscribe on YouTube today.
Please do, and and so that's kind of how they stay plugged in. But people love to hear stories that they weren't around for, especially with you guys because you're such a big part of the community. Like, give us some funny ones, some things that 20 years from now you look back, you're still going to laugh at. That things that you feel comfortable sharing.
I'd say one thing from like this year's team is when we were on the plane. This is the first year we've done this. We've like all played cards together on the plane. Usually we're all sleeping or on our phone, but this year we're all playing game Steve-O taught us, Scum. Mm-hmm. And Jemiah is entirely most annoying to play because Jemiah
he wants to win at everything, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like the game's built to where once you win one, then you have a better chance to keep winning. So Jemiah will win like 10 in a row, and he'll
probably let you know about it.
Oh yeah, he's letting us know about it. And I'm like, please, I don't need to win, just someone else win.
Yeah. This is a discussion we were having, and I'm assuming you probably don't care about this stuff, but I think we can all agree in this room that number 11 is probably going to be hung up in the rafters at the Chai eventually at some point. Is that something you'd like to do down the road, or is that something you'd prefer to do sooner rather than later?
I'm trying to get Jack to wear 11 next year. So.
Oh, okay.
That's not going to happen. You know that.
John won't let that happen.
Jack's going to wear 11.
Yeah, okay. Why? Why is that a big deal for you?
I don't know.
Just so he can remember you every time he puts his jersey on?
No, I don't need it to be retired. Obviously, if that happens, it would be a huge honor, but like I don't need that. I think it'd be cool to have someone else wear it too.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty cool. I was talking to Marcus the other day actually, and that kind of came up. I think if it gets up, he might come with you and do like a double retirement.
Kalkbrenner and Ziggurat.
Yeah, there you go.
Both on the banner.
It is pretty fun. I didn't even think about it, until the other day how.
That is an interesting point. I wonder how many guys would prefer their jersey to continue to be out there on the court versus be up in the rafter.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, can you retire? I know this is probably a dumb question.
Can you retire it twice?
Yeah.
No, like is it?
Can you retire it and then still use it?
Yeah.
Freddie wore 33. That's retired.
Yeah. John McKee, let us know. We'd love to know.
Yeah.
Well, like my freshman year, I wore 32 because Marcus had 11.
Right.
So you just keep the tradition going. A freshman that couldn't wear 11 because I was wearing it, and then he wears it as sophomore year.
It could be kind of like a badge of honor to get that jersey. Yeah.
How did we end up on 11, Ryan? Being a big guy in high school, usually the 11 was like a medium jersey.
Well, in grade school, they gave you a class number based on where you were in the alphabet, and I always seemed to end up being class number 11 because it's where K landed. So
sure.
I just stuck with 11.
Okay.
If you weren't 11 and you couldn't have that, would it be 32 or what's the number you'd go with?
Oh no, I gave Johnny like 5 other numbers before he gave me 32. I don't know what I'd be. Maybe like 10. Just
one down. Yeah. John McHugh's a guy that gets brought up on this podcast a lot, and obviously he's become infamous lately after the dunk by Jemiah and the get back coach and all the clips he's been on. Can you talk about John McHugh and just what he means to you and what just kind of what he's done for this team?
Yeah, the ship would sink without John McHugh.
I think you're about the 14th person to say that, by the way.
He does so much behind the scenes, and then especially like early in my career, when I didn't know how to do life, if I had a question about anything, how to pay a bill, like how to get a cell phone, I text John like, "Can you help me with this?" So yeah, I know a lot of the young guys still do that, and I still do it even with some of the stuff, and I feel like I should know it, but if I don't, I text John.
Yeah. Well, but now you have your wife. I mean, we interviewed you once, and she had to help you get logged in.
Yeah, we don't have any sound issues today, but Rachel, we appreciate you in the past.
She does have to help me with a lot of that stuff.
I think the interesting thing, though, is, and I'd like for you to talk, because I do love to talk about John McHugh, because he hates it, and is in your life, there are so many people around you. I don't know if so many is right, but there are people around you that you kind of know there's a motivation behind why they want to be close, right? Mm-hmm. And to me,
Casey just wants ice cream.
Exactly. Yeah. But I pay for the ice cream. Yeah. So like that's kind of so. But like with Johnny, it's like he hates the attention.
Yeah.
Is that part of why you think everybody ends up gravitating towards him? Or
yeah, you can definitely tell like there's no ulterior motives there, and builds that trust with you, and that's a big reason why. And then just keeps going from there.
Yeah, it's just really neat.
What is something that people would be surprised to know that an everyday Creighton basketball player has to go through that maybe doesn't get covered on camera, or talked about on a podcast or whatever, that you've had to endure almost every day since stepping on campus?
Lou talking trash.
Lou, every time we're doing a shooting game and there's one team's ahead of the other, it's a blowout. It's a blowout.
That's a really good Jeff Vanderloo impersonation.
But the other thing is, like, you go out in public or on campus or classes, like people will come up and say hi to you, which is fine, or like want a picture, which is fine. But it's the people who will like try to stealthily take a picture of you without
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Or staring at me, like, and I'm just like, I'm a person too. If you want a picture, just come up and ask for a picture. No need to be weird about it.
Yeah, then they like tag you on social media. Saw Ryan Kalkbrenner in the courts today. Yeah, I saw you as well, sir. Thanks for snapping that photo.
Ryan, Casey has been telling us for a couple of years now, he's far and away the best barbecuer on the staff. Or was.
Yeah.
Easy.
Is that factual?
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right.
He's been to the house. He's experienced it. Mm-hmm. Let's see, the one time I think I made pork shoulder, and I thought I had made plenty. And, between you and Jeremy Anderson, I don't know who eats more, but I did want to ask this, and because I felt like the last couple of years, especially Paul Lusk. We'll just go right into it. I remember helping Paul with not recruit you, but just make some videos and stuff as part of my role. But
thank God, because he might not have been here if you'd helped recruit him.
There's a good chance. There's a good chance. But I know how much he believed in you from even before you ever stepped foot on campus. And I know he means a lot to you, and even things like going fishing and probably still stays in touch with you. I just wanted to give you an opportunity maybe to talk about him, and because I think people forget, like, there's no Paul Lusk in Creighton, there's no Ryan Kalkbrenner in Creighton.
Yeah.
And Mac has become that second father, and obviously was instrumental in getting you here as well. I'm not saying anything different, but I do think Paul was a huge part of it, and just wanted to give you a chance to maybe give him some praise and maybe talk about him and what he means to you as well.
Yeah, I say second father for a lot of people because I've been so lucky to have so many good influences. But Lusk was definitely probably one of the first, because when I came to Omaha, it was COVID. Him and his family were awesome. His wife makes some of the best food I've ever had in my life.
Better than Casey's.
It's 100%. Mel,
she's next level.
It's different though. It's not barbecue.
It's not barbecue, but
and Paul can smoke in barbecue too. So it's not really a fair fight.
Yeah, but the Lusks all in general were awesome. He got me hooked on fishing, and I have a little bit of an addiction there if you ask Rachel. But I'd actually say when he left for Purdue, since Purdue is one of my other top 3 schools, for a fleeting second was the only time I ever thought about maybe I should go somewhere else, just because like Lusk was my guy for that whole freshman year. And obviously, it took to my sophomore year to figure out the mental stuff, but he was right there with me, trying to help me along the way, every step of the way, my freshman year, working through it. Because, I really spiraled on my freshman year, and you and Lusk were really, really there to help me through that stuff.
But remember back too is when that happened, and you were, even for just a second entertaining that. I remember him telling you, no, I recruited you to Creighton because I believe that Creighton was the best place for you, not because I'm here. And that, as someone in the business, really stood out to me. But in this day and age now with recruiting, he very easily could have been like, yeah, well, we'll just get you with me to Purdue. And for him not to do that, I remember you telling me at some point like that actually meant a lot to you and allowed you to really buy in even more to what we're doing here. And I just think it's a cool story, and it's something that's worth calling out.
Yeah, Lusk is definitely, because he was only here 1 year and I wasn't really me yet. It's easy to forget, but like he really laid the foundation for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, we've asked about Paul. We obviously brought up Jalen a minute ago. We've talked about all the turnover. We give them as much flack as we possibly can because they deserve, but there's two constants in Steve Murfeld and Jeff Vanderloo. You feel free not to say anything nice about them. That's fine too, because that's what we do. But can you kind of talk about what they mean? Because I think a lot of times they don't get a lot of the shine because of the John McHugh vein. They don't really ask for it either. Murph maybe a little bit, but not necessarily Jeff Vanderloo.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with Murph, and I think what's easy to forget about Murph is like he was a head coach and won a game in an NCAA tournament. So he's actually like a good head coach.
Oh, does he remind people that a lot?
No, never.
No, I think I remind people more than
every March Madness when that video comes up of his player lifting him in the air, I'm always like, oh man, yeah, that was Murph.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's easy to forget. Like he really knows what he's talking about, and he just through like behind the scenes work really helps all the players understand certain things. I know I've watched a lot of film with him, especially this year. So he has been very key in the background because it's, basically having an extra assistant on the staff and knows what they're talking about is big time. And then Lou is, I don't know what to say about Lou, man.
There's a lot of words that could describe him.
he's actually great to have around. Doesn't always have to say something about what we're doing on the court, but it's good to have him around for moral support. I talked to him today. He's already in Okoboji, so
yeah.
I think he'll be there.
I think he told us that was
summer.
happening, right? Yeah. I think he let us know that.
He loves Okoboji.
Yeah. I told him we got to retire together, and then he can go out to Okoboji, and then when my NBA career is done, I'm buying a place right next to his.
There you go. Hey, I want to ask about one guy that we bring up a lot on this podcast, and he does a lot of interaction with the fans and is, in my opinion, the best SID in the business. How often do you work with Rob Anderson? And I mean, he's clearly one of the smartest people we've ever met. Is that a relationship you've been able to build? Like, how ingrained is he in with the actual team?
He usually I don't know if he tries to stay out of the way, but he stays out of the way. And
that seems intentional.
Everything in the background, but like all the media stuff, I think I'm going to notice it more when I'm gone and dealing with other media, but like it goes so smoothly when he does. He knows
got a lot to do with that.
After games or media day, we're going here, and it just flows. And he's also super professional, and like he's not going to set you up with an interview with someone who's just going to waste your time or all like that. So he's been amazing.
We were down on the court for the Sweet 16, and we were just feet away from you. And when he walked out, you could see the scratches and the bruise and the bumps all up and down your arm after that Sweet 16 game against Tennessee. You can touch on this if you want to. We've fielded calls throughout your career of people saying he's soft, he's just tall, he's not good, he doesn't foul enough, he doesn't play tough enough. What is your response to those people?
And
get bent.
Don't know ball.
Yeah,
I think is the thing. Only way to say that.
Is that something that you let into your life? Did you try to filter that stuff out? Is that something you tried avoiding? How did you deal with that for 5 years?
I don't do social media.
Good call.
All.
Yeah.
I obviously have my accounts just because, as an athlete in today's
day,
you have to have an account, but someone runs it for me.
Sure.
So I don't.
Spoiler alert.
I don't see any of that stuff.
So all those DMs we've been exchanging are not you.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that I knew it was my time to get off when I think I deleted it sometime freshman or sophomore year, but I had a game where I missed a few free throws down the stretch. We still won, so I didn't care. but it didn't cover the line. So I got a DM.
Somebody threw a lemon on the court that day too.
Yeah, it just said die. I was like, it's probably my time to stop the social media stuff.
But I like when we talk about today's day and age of the transfer portal and all the money that comes in through NIL, like it kind of puts into perspective, like you guys deal with this stuff not only on the court, but from the moment you wake up to the time you go to bed, whether there's somebody standing 10 feet away from you, clearly taking a picture of you or DMing you because you cost them $12 on FanDuel. I'm sure that's gotta, when that comes to fruition, it kind of makes it worth it to some degree as well.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely deal with some extra stuff, but it's all worth it. Like the extra stuff you learn to deal with someone calling you soft because like, I don't know who you are. I don't really care.
And they've probably never played a day of basketball in their lives. Yeah.
And, the people taking pictures of you, it's like, that's a little weird, but they're not trying to be mean. So
I've taken 3 since you sat here. So,
so like,
we got one running.
Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely deal with some extra stuff that normal college students wouldn't have to deal with. But I mean, it's all worth it. You get so much in return from it.
Sure.
Oh, well, then I'm going to go again.
Yeah. I feel bad. I feel like I've been asking all the questions.
I don't know. Tell us. We've kind of recapped, the career, had some good stories, but we're turning the page, man. It's now you're going to be a true professional athlete. What are you excited about? And maybe give people an understanding of what the next couple weeks look like for you.
So next couple weeks, I'm going to aiming for 2 more weeks off, but usually I don't make it all the way to what I'm aiming for. But
is that a lot of fishing?
Yeah. Hopefully, as long as the weather stays good.
Sure.
And then after that, my agency is out of Chicago, so I'll be spending a lot of time in Chicago working out with them, getting ready to go to workouts with NBA teams, and then going to the draft or combine, and then going back to workouts with teams and seeing if I can get into a good spot for a draft and going from there.
I don't want to close any doors for you. Who was your favorite team growing up?
Favorite team growing up.
Did you have an NBA squad?
I didn't really have an NBA team. There's no team in St. Louis.
You were a hockey guy.
I was a hockey guy. Yeah,
could have been a really good defenseman.
You and Chara.
Yeah,
Chara. Yeah, hockey equipment's too expensive.
Is McHugh making all the calls he can to Indiana to try to get you there yet, or no?
No, not yet. I wouldn't mind Indiana though.
Yeah,
Midwest guy. I wouldn't mind staying in the Midwest.
What does it mean for you to be from the St. Louis area, to be just a few? I guess it's closer to 8 hours away, but still relatively close to home. How big of a deal was that for you during your process?
I didn't really care too much about staying really close to home.
A little bit of you want to get further away?
Yeah, I think Omaha was the perfect distance. Like, I can't go there all the time, but it's close enough to where I could make a trip work so I could still get home. But my other top 3 was Stanford, and they were amazing. Like, the coaches there were amazing. They had a lot of good stuff, but that's not a weekend trip home.
Yeah, it's not very close. Yeah.
So it was good throughout my career that I was close enough to where I could still go home if I really, really wanted to.
Creighton's obviously made their decision who's going to replace you. There's been a transfer coming in from Iowa. What's the piece of advice you'd give to the person following Ryan Kalkbrenner's career?
Well, Casey was talking to me about this the other day, that like no matter who it was coming in to replace me is going to feel a lot of pressure from the fans or whatnot. So I just tell them, don't try to be anyone else other than who you are. Like, don't try to be good at the things I was good at just because I was good at them. Be good at the things you're good at because that's who you are. Try to be you. Don't worry about being me or anyone else. Just be yourself.
I got one more for you then. Your favorite moment in 5 years. What was your favorite moment as a Creighton Blue Jay?
Favorite moment? I don't know.
If you don't say your wedding, Rachel's going to be upset.
As a Creighton Blue Jay, I don't think he was wearing his jersey at his wedding day.
Is this underneath the tux?
Sure. Well, I'll ask it this way then, because we talked about this. In case you don't mind me sharing, this is a private conversation, but we talked about how much you seem to enjoy this senior day this time around, because it really looked like you were taking in, looking up into the highest part of the rafters too. Can you talk about that moment and when they're announcing? Jake Ryan gives you your announcement for the last time. That video rolls. You're obviously standing there with your wife, who you met on campus too. What did that moment mean to you?
Yeah, it meant a lot. Obviously, I could just feel the support from Omaha and in the whole city in that moment, because you hear your name one last time and you get one last cheer, and it's like the last one I'll get like that, and you just take it all in, because I've had so many of those throughout my career, and I've been so lucky to have all the support I've had. So just really taking it in that moment and not letting it go by without realizing it was big for me, and I was able to do that. So that was really, really cool to me that I was able to do that.
Were you surprised with how long Sammy Asmani talked?
A little bit, yeah.
Hey, right. Oh, good.
I was surprised he had a whole thing written out. I thought he'd just go off the dome with it and just say whatever, but he had to
take advantage.
Yeah, he killed it too. Hey, man, we appreciate you doing this. Thank you very much. It's Ryan Kalkbrenner, Casey Matthews, and Alex Drake. One of them is more famous than the others. I've been Jimmy Allen. We appreciate you listening to the Roll Jays podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. We'll see you in the offseason. Thanks for joining us.